You just did beauty parlor eyes for me. 6:03, Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel down yonder. Miss Erin has local news up next.
And she has the vapors.
Yes, so do I.
Caddo students beginning a petition for LGBT rights. We'll talk about that. How you can help the Mudbugs win a big honor. We'll have that coming up, too. And shaming kids because they can't pay for lunch. That's a big story this week.
I'm not sure yesterday was the biggest day in the history of Shreveport sports. That was probably like a Terry Bradshaw Super Bowl day, maybe a David Toms wins the PGA, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty darn close, and not just because of the hockey team. We will discuss Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather, and it's all coming up this hour, and it's right here, and it's on Keel.
Just one day.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Caddo students start a petition for LGBT rights. Reuben Wright has more.
A group of Southwood High students have written an open letter and started a petition fighting for the rights of one of their fellow LGBT students. Cami Pham, according to the letter, is being discriminated against because the principal will not allow her senior pictures to be published in the yearbook or be shown with the other senior students. They say just because the student wears a wig and women's clothing doesn't mean she should be alienated from her class. The petition to allow Pham to participate in all senior activities is posted to change.org and has over 3,000 signatures. From 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Reuben Wright.
Shreveport Mudbugs finalists for the Kraft Hockeyville competition. The competition will highlight the city and the team with the best hockey story. If the Mudbugs win, they could earn $150,000, and Hirsch will have a chance to host an NHL preseason game. For more info on how to help the Mudbugs win, head to KeelNews.com. Police on the hunt for a gunman who shot a woman during an Easter celebration. Carla Colvin was shot during an Easter trail ride on Narcissus Drive. Colvin was struck in the shoulder, but the wound is not considered life-threatening. Jamel Haskell was shot multiple times in a convenience store in Natchitoches. Jaquarius Artisan, the main suspect in the murder. Authorities say there was a fight between the men shortly before the shooting. Artisan is wanted by Natchitoches PD for first-degree murder. A weekend wreck on I-20 leaves a woman dead. According to police, a motorcyclist was cut off on I-20 eastbound, causing them to crash and start a multi-car pileup. A female passenger on the motorcycle was killed during the wreck. Several other motorists were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Baton Rouge Representative Pat Smith's legislation that would prevent schools from taking lunches away from students with unpaid school debts is moving to the House floor. Smith says her legislation would prevent schools from publicly rejecting lunches for students and stop them from shaming kids whose parents are either negligent or unable to afford the meals.
Many children have been actually denied the opportunity to have a lunch because they have not paid a bill.
Smith says the bill was inspired by heartbreaking stories from her constituents' children. The parents of Maxwell Groover, who died last year in an alleged hazing incident at LSU, expected the Capitol to show support for a bill that would stiffen the penalties for those found guilty of hazing. The Max Groover Act passed through committee without objection and will be heard on the House floor. Groover's father, Steve, says this bill will save lives.
The country is looking at the state of Louisiana, and this is the best written bill we've seen, and we've looked at every single one of them.
The bill would make hazing a felony. Millions of us do it. Order something on Amazon.com, pay state taxes on the products, then have it delivered through the post office. But as we found out over the weekend, it's something the president is not happy about. He's been attacking Amazon on Twitter, calling the whole process a ripoff. Former LSU football coach Les Miles dipping his toes into the film industry, looking to take his distinctive character to the silver screen. Patrick Mulhern, a senior director at Louisiana Economic Development, says the transition from pigskin to productions should be smooth for the Mad Hatter.
And, I think Coach recognizes that reading a script and acting in a scene is a lot like running a play.
Miles will appear in a film inspired about the Challenger explosion called Angry Men. Mulhern says he's looking forward to Coach's portrayal of a NASA chief. Notre Dame, the national champion in women's basketball, after hitting a last-second shot to beat Mississippi State. Arike Ogumbawale scored 14 of her 18 points in the second half, including the tie-breaking three-pointer with just ticks left on the clock. The men's final is tonight, Michigan and Villanova. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
How would you like to buy an $80?
9 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM at 710 KEEL. Monday morning, very first traffic. Here's Ruben.
Everything's looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on North Market near North Hearn Avenue. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Your credit card company.
Good morning. It's 11 past 6 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Always remember, never forget. God, what was I going to say? Oh, Shreveport Security Systems text line for your thoughts, comments, and concerns, 318-392-1884, and a variety of ways. Hang on just a second. It's Monday morning. It is 12 minutes after 6 o'clock now. Already on Monday, you know, you work with somebody in the same studio for more than 20 years. In fact, 21 and a half we've worked. By the way, not to get way off track.
God, it's a long time.
We'll get back to that in a second.
Oh, dear God.
I thought that last week was our 4th anniversary on KEEL. This will give you an insight into how little attention we had to be reminded of our 20th anniversary, which was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We had to be reminded to give you a little insight into how little attention we pay to any of that.
You dopes.
I thought last week was our 4th KEEL anniversary. And you said, no, it's like March
14th.
I thought it was March 28th. Are you
No,
sure?
positive.
Are you 100% sure?
100% sure. 100% sure.
You wouldn't know. You weren't here.
I was here. I just wasn't here.
How long have you been here? Too long.
2 years. Well, too long is always an answer.
Too
But
long.
Now, what I started to say was, I don't know what you did this weekend, but when you work with someone in the same studio for nigh on 2+ decades, and you repeatedly on Monday morning see them using their microphone as a headrest.
I'm not telling you what I did.
You
I really am not.
You know that probably the shift of focus, the burden of the show,
It's on you.
may fall on my end of the table this morning. You just finished the newscast, and I looked up, and you were resting your face against the microphone. That's never a good sign for me.
It's a long story.
who knew
Yeah.
Easter eggs were filled with bourbon? I had no idea.
It was tequila, hush.
So, where was I? Okay.
Lent's over, so whatever I gave up, I can get it again.
Well,
Oh, boy. What a way to put it.
if you're watching on the TV camera, you know what she's talking about.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I'm not sure that yesterday was the absolute greatest day in the history of Shreveport sports. What do you think was? Before I tell you how many great things happened yesterday, if you don't know. Terry Bradshaw, 4 Super Bowls. That's pretty awesome for Shreveport.
That's pretty good.
David Toms winning the PGA championship. What else pops into your head? Parkey?
Albert Bell.
Albert Bell winning the MVP.
MV
When he was with the
Indians.
Indians, yeah, because he went to the Orioles later. Can anything off the top of your head?
Ooh. Not really. No, I don't think anything else.
Do you know why yesterday was probably?
No.
If you give Bradshaw 4 for 4 Super Bowls for Shreveport sports greatest day of all time, yesterday was easily in the top 10, maybe approaching the top 5.
What happened? I mean, did I miss something?
You missed a lot.
2 things. One, not the Mudbugs. Well, it is the Mudbugs because they're the operation of George's Pond at Hirsch Coliseum.
Yeah.
It's they oversee. They could win $150,000 for renovation.
That's pretty good.
From this Kraft Hockeyville deal.
Yeah.
The voting day is what? April 13th.
13th and through the 14th, what just happens to be the first weekend of Mudbugs playoff hockey.
But I mean, imagine if we could get everybody who listens to us on that day to just take 90 seconds to go to that website and vote for Shreveport and Hirsch Coliseum.
Vote,
How
please.
incredible that would be.
Vote early, vote often.
To get every station. I think you can only vote once. I think it's one of those email things.
It's at keelnews.com, FYI, if you want to go find
For
it.
details and stuff. But we were one of the 4 finalists, I guess, 2 places somewhere in Vermont.
There was a outdoor rink. I think that one was the one in Vermont. There was a place in New York and then somewhere in California.
If we lose to Vermont,
There
come
was
on.
no place. Was there one in California?
Yeah.
They're automatically eliminated.
Yeah, they don't vote.
Vermont is too far left, so it's us and this burned out mill town in New York thing.
Yeah, we're going to beat them.
You know what
Spank them.
You know what the one thing that may hurt us in this competition? Because I was watching the Bruins and Flyers game yesterday, and that's when they had the big announcement with this big video package. And I realized something that to a national audience might hurt us a little bit.
What's that?
The Hirsch presented really well on television.
What?
Well, they had like this tracking shot where they walk up and show the Hirsch.
In other words...
And from a distance on television, it looks like head and shoulders above the rest of the rinks in the competition.
So the Hirsch looks too good to win?
On television.
That's what he's saying.
That's nutty.
I mean, we know better. We've been in there. Not that, Tommy Scott and those guys haven't put a lot of work and money to make it look that presentable. But there's a lot of lipstick on that pig, and
that's what, believe me, people within the organization will say that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just think when you have like 4 in a national competition, that may not benefit us.
So basically, when George's Pond at Hirsch Coliseum, home of the Mudbugs, despite its current condition, is going up against an outdoor rink in Vermont that's on a chemical landfill, we may, in fact, have our work cut out for us.
We may lose some of the sympathy votes.
Well, we have more fans.
The good news is it's total votes. It's about the votes. And we'll talk about that more later. The other awesome Shreveport sports story yesterday is Sam Burns won a golf tournament.
Ooh.
Web.com tournament.
Go Sam.
Birdied 6 of the last 9 holes.
Wow.
Including the last 3. Including a birdie putt on 18 for the victory for his first professional win.
Dang. That
Wins
is
like,
pretty big
what is it,
news.
199 grand, which compared to a PGA win is a pittance sum. But what it does, it goes a long way in establishing, was it 199? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it was just 99. I don't remember. But it goes a long way and, in fact, really solidifies him for next year moving up to the big tour, if not earlier. So, 710. Rich Lamb.
Yeah.
Chairman, Board of Directors, Cyport.
I'm excited.
What do you want to know?
Boy.
Think about it. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Yeah.
I've got 1,000 questions.
Okay.
When did he become chairman
I'm not sure.
of
We'll
this
have to
board
check.
of directors?
We'll have to check.
Of Cyport.
He's coming in studio, so I'm looking. If you have questions for him, you can always text them to us on the Shreveport Security Systems
No. You're
text
awake,
line.
barely. You tell us what the number is. You've got this.
318-392-1884.
Not bad.
Wow.
19 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. It is time for traffic update on Keel, and here's Ruben.
I-49 South's got to clear all the way to Alexandria right now. We'll count later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-220 westbound near North Market due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast: warm and humid today, a high of 78, and mild tonight with a low of 66. Cloudy, breezy, warm and humid again tomorrow with a high of 79. We'll have to watch for a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
The reviews are in.
.101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Very hypnotic. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Monday Morning Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Shreveport Sam Burns won his first professional tournament, firing a third straight round of 7 under par 65 to win the Savannah Golf Championships on the Web.com tour. Burns was 6 under over the final 9 holes to bring home the $99,000 first place check. On Friday night, Ariki Agunbowale sent Notre Dame into the Women's National Championship with a buzzer-beating shot that sank UConn. Last night, she dialed up an off-balance three-pointer again at the buzzer to send the Irish to a 61-58 win over Mississippi State for all the marbles. Tonight, Villanova and Michigan will settle the men's national title in San Antonio. The Pelicans were knocked off by Oklahoma City 109-104 Sunday. The loss dropped New Orleans into the 8th and final playoff spot of the Western Conference with just 5 games remaining. The Pels are only 1 game ahead of 9th place Denver, but they're also just 2 games out of 4th place. And in the big leagues yesterday, the Houston Astros knocked off the Rangers 8-2 to take the series. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
There will always be a convenient location and a doctor to
You think she nodded off in the bathroom? Maybe. Wow. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. When you were walking down the hall and you saw me talking, knowing that you were not in the studio for the beginning of the segment, we all three of it, we saw you slow down. You made a conscious effort to walk more slowly.
It's one of those days.
I'm late. I don't care.
Okay, it whatever you did yesterday, didn't it occur to you? Did this mean so little to you? Did our relationship, our nigh on 2-decade-plus relationship, means so little to you that you went, the hell with him, the hell with that show?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, good. Just wanted to get that on the record.
Clear it up.
Yeah.
Man's got to have his priorities.
Yeah.
So Rich Lamb, who is the chairman of the board of directors of Cyport, will join us just after 7 o'clock.
Yes, his folks reached out and said he'd love to come in and join us. He wanted to join us Friday, but we were on by vacation. We took a day off. And so he's coming in today.
Sort of to bring everybody up to date, they're sort of open in a, what does that mean? I have not been.
One section is open.
Which section is it?
It's the.
Is it a new section? Is it an old section?
It's an updated version of their old section. It's the pop or power of play that's upstairs.
Does that mean they dusted? What exactly?
I don't know.
No, they did they put a bunch of new stuff in. IMAX is back open or reopening soon. The IMAX
I think
theater?
they open this weekend.
Okay.
But that's going to be reopening soon. They're going to have some Penguin movie.
Oh, cool. Love penguins.
I think the first question would be, so which question rather? God, I'm going to Erin here. Which question are you the most tired of?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what was that $2.5 million, $2 million plus salary thing spent on?
Yeah.
Well, you got to ask.
Who made all that money?
Well, look, you're on the board of directors of things.
Yes.
What exactly does somebody on the board of directors do?
Different boards are run different ways. That's why I'm a little curious about this, because if I were on the Cyport board, I would have questioned the salaries. Hey, we're paying somebody.
So
if it's accurate, we're paying somebody $300,000. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Is that one of the first things you look at? Do you, with regularity? I mean, you tell me.
Oh, of course.
Review the books. Review the.
Absolutely. You review everything you spend. Where can we trim? Where can we be more efficient with our money so that we can do more
Isn't
for
there
our
like
our
a
public?
comptroller or a business manager or somebody who does that for whatever the nonprofit entity happens to be?
Here's the problem with that: is your financial person is also on your payroll, and also has relationships with the CEO and other people. And so they don't want to get in there and question everybody's salaries. That, if you've got great salaries, they're not going to go in there and go, "Hey, y'all are paying us too much. Y'all might want to cut our salaries."
Let me find.
I don't think you ever run into the office and tell them to do that, do you?
There was an article in the Times. Hang on just a second. I'm pulling that up. A Times article over the weekend, and it has to do. I didn't know I was going to pull this up right now, so I'm looking for the actual paragraph about the salaries. But I do believe, I don't want to say he confirmed there were $2 million in annual salaries.
I did get, while you're looking that up, I did get information from a close source who said that at least one top executive was making $300,000. I don't know that that's accurate. I need to confirm that. But that's salary. That's twice what the mayor of your city makes. That's big money. That's one of the highest paid executives in our community, probably. And Is a Cyport person worth that? I don't know. I'd question that. I really would. If I was on that board, I'd want to see what people make at other similar museums, kids play areas, and say, what are our salaries in line with what others are paying? Or did somebody just kind of get in there and wheedle their way into a big old salary? I would be really hesitant if I was on that board to approve a $300,000 salary.
Mr. Rich joins us just after 7 o'clock I didn't do anything that would be at the level of the fun you had this weekend.
Oh, boy.
That you won't talk about.
Oh, no, I can't talk about it.
I wish Matt could do the whole show today.
Me too.
Rich Lamb, chairman, board of directors for Cyport, joins us just after 7 o'clock this morning. 28 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Let's see. You've got the news. Will you wake up by then?
I'll try.
You'll be awesome. Traffic and weather updates coming up next right here on Keel. Good morning. It's 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, 29 past 6 o'clock. Erin, local news is up next. Right now, Ruben's here. Traffic update.
I-49 South's got to clear all the way to Alexandria right now, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-220 westbound near North Market due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Police are on the hunt for a gunman who shot a woman during an Easter celebration. Carla Colvin shot during an Easter trail ride on Narcissus Drive. Colvin was wounded in the shoulder, but is expected to survive. No information is known about the shooter. Jamel Haskell shot multiple times in a convenience store in Natchitoches. Jaquarius Artisan, the main suspect in the murder. Authorities say the two men had a fight shortly before the shooting. Artisan is wanted by Natchitoches PD for first-degree murder. A weekend wreck on I-20 leaves a woman dead. According to police, a motorcyclist was cut off on I-20 eastbound, causing them to crash, which started a multi-car pileup. A female passenger on the motorcycle was killed during the wreck. Baton Rouge Representative Pat Smith's legislation that would prevent schools from taking lunches away from students with unpaid school debts is moving to the House floor. Smith says her legislation would prevent schools from publicly rejecting lunches for students. Smith says the bill was inspired by heartbreaking stories from her constituents.
There have been children that we understand in some of our schools who may have made it all the way with their tray to the lunch lady and found out that they had a debt and the tray was taken away from them.
There are some concerns about the bill being an unfunded mandate for school districts that would require them to feed hungry children without a guarantee of repayment. Caddo students began a petition for LGBT rights. A group of Southwood High students have written an open letter and started a petition fighting for the rights of one of their fellow students. Cammie Pham, according to the letter, is being discriminated against because the principal will not allow her senior pictures to be published in the yearbook or be shown with other senior students. Shreveport Mudbugs finalist in a national competition. We get more on that from Reuben Wright.
Mudbugs have been named one of 4 finalists for the Kraft Hockeyville competition. The competition will highlight the city and team with the best hockey story. If the Mudbugs win, they can earn $150,000, and Hirsch will have a chance to host an NHL preseason game. For more information on how to help the Mudbugs win, head to KeelNews.com. For 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Reuben Wright.
The parents of Maxwell Groover, who died last year in a hazing incident at LSU, will be at the Capitol to show support for a bill that would stiffen criminal penalties for those found guilty of hazing. Groover's father, Steve, says the only way to stop hazing is to send a strong message backed up with tough penalties.
Hazing must end. Education awareness are keys, but without strong laws and enforcement, there's just no real deterrence.
The Max Groover Act passed through committee without objection and will now be heard on the House floor. President Trump calling on Mexico to do more about illegal immigration at the U.S. border.
Mexico has got to help us at the border. They flow right through Mexico. They send them into the United States. Can't happen that way anymore.
The president making those comments Sunday as he arrived for an Easter Mass in Palm Beach, Florida. Ever shop at Saks? Well, if you did, you may have gotten more than you bargained for. A data breach at the store chains may have resulted in having personal information of customers who shopped at the stores compromised. Notre Dame rallies to beat Mississippi State in the NCAA Women's Championship. Arike Ngumbawale, the hero once again for the Fighting Irish. She nailed the game-winning three-pointer with under a second to go.
When I saw it travel a little bit, I thought so, but, the last play was just a lot going on. I can't really even describe it.
The men's title game is tonight. It's Villanova and Michigan. And Steven Spielberg has a beef with a burger chain. Carl's Jr. wanted to rename its Charbroiled Slider a Spielburger. They tried to deliver samples to Spielberg's office, even left a note on his car. Spielberg's production company released a short video in which Spielberg said the burgers are pretty good, but they should cease and desist from naming them after him. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel.
1017 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. It is 6:36. Did you watch the women's basketball championship yesterday?
Yeah, where I was, people stopped. Everything stopped to watch the end of that game. We all thought it was Mississippi State.
It was tied
all
at
the
58
way.
with a minute left.
Early in the game, though, Mississippi State was blowing them out.
Yeah.
I mean, they were killing them. And we thought, oh, State's only lost one game. They're not going to lose this one.
What's the young lady's name? And
Arike Ungabawabe. That's it.
You want to try that one again?
Let me see. Let me find it.
I know it's Arike as her first name.
Arike is her first name. Yeah. Let's see. I've
Who
got
hit
it in here.
the winning three-pointer with about 3 Mississippi State players hanging on her.
Agumbawale.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, she played a hell of a game.
That was an incredible shot at the end.
So tonight, Villanova plays Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And
I felt so bad for those Loyola kids.
Why?
Golly, just the crying. I don't like to see boys cry.
Do you think it was a step up in class they just weren't ready for, or do you think they just were beaten by a better team? In other words,
Michigan D is incredible.
Do you think they were overwhelmed by the moment? Do you think for I'm not going to say little bitty Loyola of Chicago, but that's not the level of college basketball at which they normally compete.
No, it's not. And just watching Villanova, oh my goodness.
They won not last year, but year before last.
They just spanked.
Villanova's real good.
They spanked with Kansas. Oh my goodness, it wasn't even a game.
Yeah.
It wasn't a game.
Villanova's real good.
Real good. Real good. It looked like some terrible NBA teams.
Coach of Villanova, his name is Jay Wright, and his coaching philosophy is pretty simple. He says we do 6 or 7 things.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we do. We just do them real well.
They do them real well.
I mean, they literally only have, according to the coach, 6 or 7 plays from guys who scout them. They'll tell you they've only got 6 or 7 plays. They run a couple of options off of each one, but the point is that it's not a terribly complex or overwhelming system that they run. Mm-hmm. They just do the same thing again and again and do it really, really well.
Yeah, incredible.
So,
is this Augusta week, by the way?
Yeah, Masters is this week.
This is a big sports week. Tonight's the big game, the men's finals. Yeah. I'm excited.
So you want to give me Michigan and how many?
Ooh, I'd give you Michigan.
7.5?
I was going to say 8.
Okay, I'll take 8.
I'll give you Michigan and 8.
I like to play with half points.
Okay, 7.5.
Okay, 8.5.
7 3/4.
I should have gone 10.5. That's my pant inseam. 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Rich Lamb, Board of Directors from Cyport, Chairman of the Board, is here just after 7 o'clock. 639, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. We're going to talk about tops next, but not really.
Oh, Lord.
Just mention that because I like to see Matt's hair stand straight up.
Here comes the smoke out of his ears.
Traffic time. Here's Ruben.
We have reports of a stalled vehicle on I-20 westbound blocking the right lane near North Spring Street. It's got things backed up to Hamilton Road right now. And we're starting to see some slow-moving traffic on North Market near North Hearn Avenue. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast: warm and humid today, a high of 78, and mild tonight with a low 66. Cloudy, breezy, warm and humid again tomorrow with a high of 79. We'll have to watch for a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
No matter the season, your friends at Payne Mechanical, Watch out, you'll get some in your mouth. I'm talking to myself. When I was a kid, I've told you before, that was the only, my mother, and for anybody who knew my mom, Mrs. Wright at St. John's for all those years. 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, Robert and Erin. For anybody who knew my mother from all her years, like 30 at St. John Berkman's grade school, she was not a woman of renowned good humor. She wasn't quick with the quip. To say, I told you before, my mother she was sort of like a Bergman movie. I mean, if you've ever seen Seventh Seal, there is work, there is death. That's basically it. And when I was a kid growing up, the only joke I ever heard my mother do was when one of us, we were little kids, we would drop food or spill food. She never got mad. She would always say, "Be careful, you'll get some in your mouth." That was the only joke I was like probably 50 when my mom passed away, maybe late 40s. The only joke in my whole life, and probably hers, that she ever did. Speaking of food, you had an interesting story. We as a culture, as a society, are faced with a number of choices. And one of those, and this is only going to be circuitously related to Tops, but I wanted Matt to listen in. And you had a story about, I'm not the Tops yet there, Lurch. Settle
Here's
down.
Grunt.
Huh?
You're his grunt.
I thought that was, yeah.
I'm listening. Continue, please.
Well, the story that you had about lunch for kids. Should school lunches for all kids be part of the cost? Just school lunch, it's free for everybody, which means that whatever our costs, whatever our school taxes are, they go up because no kid should be denied.
I don't know about the cost and all that, but I don't think you should shame children when they come through the line. You owe for this. You can't get your lunch.
So at some point, though, if you don't, at some point, you're going to have a hungry kid if he doesn't have the money. So I ask you, as a moral question versus the cost, is it worth the added cost when when every dime, when we're fighting for every dime right now?
Yeah.
You see how this sort of is tying into Tops? You know, should
every kid should get food.
Then,
every kid should.
So how
get
much
their
more
lunch.
would you be willing to pay?
I would say if it were my kid's school, I bet there would be parents that would step up and say, "I'll pay for an extra child." I would have.
But what if you don't have enough? What if at some point you have to pay? Is it as a question of morality? Is it worth the added money, the added expense, perhaps the added employee? I don't know. I don't know the particulars of the deal. I know it's got to cost more.
Sure.
And so at some point, should you and Matt and me, the childless three, should we and everybody else, just kind of like Tops, we'll get to that, should we be responsible for? Is that an added cost that you in your mind see as valuable?
Absolutely. Children should eat food. Children should have
How many
food.
times have we had Lamar come in here, Dr. Gorey?
And
how many
you know what
times
he'll tell you?
How many times did we have Dr. Brumley, Cade Brumley, now down in Jefferson Parish, come in and tell us that I have friends who are teachers who will tell you in Caddo Parish that there are kids that come into their classroom on Monday. They keep snacks because they will tell you they have kids come into their classroom on Monday morning and not only have not had breakfast, but Dr. Gorey will tell you, Dr. Brumley will tell you that kids will come to school on Monday morning and have not been fed since they left school on Friday.
Yeah.
So
and Dr. Gorey will tell you, and I believe this number's correct, that 75% of the kids in Caddo Parish are on the free lunch program and free breakfast.
So my question is once again,
75%.
So is in much the same way that are you creating a dependence, and are you creating more of it? You don't have to be a parent. Government will be a parent for you. Schools will be a parent for you. You're a bad enough parent already because you don't bother to feed your kids for 48 hours. And evidently there are parents like that for whatever reason. My initial instinct is with all of the programs that are available for people, that if you can't get on a program to feed your kids, you're screwing up somewhere.
You're not trying, exactly. But here's the problem. You're not going to change those parents by not feeding
But
their
are you
children,
creating a
so
greater...
you have to feed their children.
See the seesaw?
Yes.
It's like TOPS. And one of the things we haven't talked about with TOPS, and we may a little bit later, is the, I don't want to say moral imperative, but it's an angle of TOPS that we have not yet discussed. And if you watch any of those old westerns from the 50s or 60s, if you watch The Rifleman, if you watch Bonanza, if you just any of those old shows, people were embarrassed, ashamed to be in any kind of debt to anyone else. You know? Mm-hmm. No, I can't take that. No. And they would go to extreme lengths to pay back what they owed immediately as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You know, Doc, my wife's going to have a baby. I don't have any money. I'll give you a chicken, you know, because I don't want to be indebted to you. And yet we, in early 21st century America, specifically early 21st century Louisiana, seem to have no problem with saying to the rest of the state, hey, everybody, pay for my kids' college. Pay for my kids' education. Help me out with this, because it's gotten so expensive that nobody is, I don't want to say shamed by debt, but that cultural zeitgeist has certainly changed over the last 50, 75 years.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, at what point, if I said on Friday, we as a state seem to have decided that we want to pay for TOPS, that TOPS is valuable, that TOPS is something we want to have, and that the people, the taxpayers of Louisiana, look, let me put this bluntly, if you've got a kid of college age and you're getting TOPS, you have made the decision that other people should help pay for your kids' college.
Mm-hmm.
And we as a state, legislatively, and I think if you took a head count, people would vote that TOPS is a great program. Everybody says, we got to fund TOPS, got to fund TOPS.
Yeah.
Okay, but at the end of the day, it's literally somebody else paying for your kids going to college. And you don't seem to have a problem with that.
That's what we promised them. Stop promising them it if you don't want to do it.
So, we're promising them lunch. You're saying we should now promise them lunch.
We almost promise all of them lunch anyway.
There is a federal program, and Dr. Cade talked about this, that is currently, I think this is the first, maybe the second year in DeSoto, where every meal, I mean, how many meals, if you're going to assume that the parents are total screw-ups, and here's my rhetorical question to end the segment. If you're going to assume that because you can, because kids come to school on Monday and haven't eaten since Friday.
Yeah.
Should you just be serving 3 meals a day? Should you serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner at school and just take that burden completely off the parents? And at what point in that parental equation does that equate to child abuse?
Yeah.
And should you not have the kids? 649, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Traffic update coming up right now. Here's Ruben.
We have reports of a stalled vehicle on I-20 westbound blocking the right lane near North Spring Street. It's got things backed up to Hamilton Road right now. And we're starting to see some slow-moving traffic on North Market near North Hearn Avenue. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Good morning. It is 8 minutes before 7 o'clock. It's 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Time for Monday Morning Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Shreveport's Sam Burns won his first professional tournament, firing a third straight round of 7 under par 65 to win the Savannah Golf Championships on the Web.com tour. Burns was 6 under over the final 9 holes to bring home the $99,000 first-place check. On Friday night, Ariki Ogunbowale sent Notre Dame into the Women's National Championship with a buzzer-beating shot that sank UConn. Last night, she dialed up an off-balance three-pointer again at the buzzer to send the Irish to a 61-58 win over Mississippi State for all the marbles. Tonight, Villanova and Michigan will settle the men's national title in San Antonio. The Pelicans were knocked off by Oklahoma City 109-104 Sunday. The loss dropped New Orleans into the 8th and final playoff spot of the Western Conference with just 5 games remaining. The Pels are only 1 game ahead of 9th place Denver, but they're also just 2 games out of 4th place. And in the big leagues yesterday, the Houston Astros knocked off the Rangers 8-2 to take the series. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Hey, it's Lloyd Nelson from Red River Chevrolet, I-20 at Track.
Good morning, 655, Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. We will definitely talk about this. I don't know how much praise you deserve because I don't know what you did this weekend to,
We're not gonna talk about
mitigate
that.
any flattery that would come your way.
Please.
You guys delivered on your Easter basket deal.
Mm-hmm.
More than is that legit?
Yeah.
300 Easter baskets.
In some of the cases, instead of taking individual baskets, I took huge buckets of candy that they could use at like Hope Connections, I made stops at Hope Connections, Christian Services, Providence House, Project Celebration, Rescue Mission. I delivered a bunch of places. They took things to the Shriners Hospital. We were just all over town. I'm the little bunny ear queen.
I beg your pardon?
I'm the bunny ear queen.
I don't know how you do those metaphors, but they're amazing. Also, Keel Cash is back starting off today. Your chance to win $5,000. Listen for the Keel code and details. What time a little bit later?
Coming up after 8 o'clock.
6:56. Here's Rush, and he's on Keel.
Say, folks, the Russians are at it again. This time they're not poisoning one of their own former spies or hacking the DNC mail server. This time they are hitting Hollywood, a symbol of American culture. Now, it started last week. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov was asked by a local news outlet about a Russian sex scandal. 3 female journalists had accused a Russian legislator of groping them without their consent. The official's name, by the way, was Leonid Slutsky. Now, to answer the question, the spokesman Peskov launched on the Me Too movement. He said it reminds him of the Hollywood stars who have done a lot that clashes with Russia's notions of honor and dignity. He says, but women did these things anyway. In order to become celebrities, these women, they earned hundreds of millions of dollars, and then after 10 years, they started saying that Harvey Weinstein's a bad guy. Well, maybe he is, but none of these women went to the cops and said, Weinstein raped me. No, they wanted to earn $10 million. Now, we in Russia call a woman who sleeps with a man for $10 million a golden showers prostitute. It might sound rude, but that's what we call them. Okay, how dare this Russian say such things about our hardworking, pure, virtuous Hollywood actresses? This is outrageous. Isn't this Russian collusion in Hollywood? And what are they going to say about that? Is anybody going to care? Today's technology makes things easier because everything's connected. Your cell phone, your tablet, even your smart TV, all connected to one account, and they're all connected to your Wi-Fi. It only takes just one weak link for a cyber thug criminal to break in and obtain your data. And that's why the new LifeLock identity theft protection now adds the power of Norton security to your devices. Now, while LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect threats to your identity, the addition of Norton security helps protect up to 5 of your devices from online threats. And if there's a problem, LifeLock's agents will work to fix it. Now, of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions in all businesses. But new LifeLock with Norton gives you more protection for today's connected world. Join now, get 10% off your first year. Go online to lifelock.com and enter the promo code RUSH. That's lifelock.com. Remember, promo code RUSH.
We just received reports of a stalled vehicle on I-20 westbound blocking the right lane near North Spring Street. It's got things backed up past Hamilton Road right now. And we have some traffic delays on Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast: warm and humid today, a high of 78, and mild tonight with a low of 66. Cloudy, breezy, warm and humid again tomorrow with a high of 79. We'll have to watch for a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Good morning. It's 7:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel down yonder. Miss Erin, local news is getting ready right now.
Lawmakers cost us a whopper of a bill. We'll talk more about that. Teachers walking off the job in one community. We'll have a look at that, too. And Easter egg hunts in the ice.
Rich Lamb, he is the chairman of the board of directors of Cyport, will be in studio in just a couple of minutes. Hang on, lots of questions there. Fletcher in sports, traffic and weather, and it's all coming up this hour, and it's right here on KEEL.
Louisiana's failed special session on taxes, which didn't raise any money to help close a state budget gap, cost taxpayers nearly $643,000. The Times-Picayune report shows the 15-day session held from February 19th through March 5th cost more than $42,000 a day. A bill in the works to prevent schools from taking lunches away from students with unpaid school debts is moving to the House floor. Legislation would prevent schools from publicly rejecting lunches for students. But there are some concerns about that. Louisiana School Board Association Executive Director Scott Richard.
There's still a cost to produce meals, whether or not the community eligibility program is in place or not. So there's still a cost associated. Nothing is free.
The bill was passed 7-4, has a floor hearing set for Wednesday. Thousands of teachers expected to walk off the job in Oklahoma today, and many will protest at the Capitol, demanding better wages and working conditions. Rick Meacham is one of them. His full-time job as a PE teacher doesn't cut it, so he works a second job as a server in Tulsa.
There's days you're just exhausted from your school day, and then you have to go change and put on your work face to go back to another job.
Last week, the legislature approved an average raise of 15% for the state's teachers, but advocates say that still doesn't address bigger problems like years of budget cuts that have led to 4-day school weeks and overcrowded classes. Shreveport Mudbugs are finalists in a national competition. They've been named one of the 4 finalists for the Kraft Hockeyville competition. It will highlight the city and team with the best hockey story. If the Mudbugs win, they could earn $150,000, and Hirsch would have a chance to host an NHL preseason game. For more information on how to help the Mudbugs win, head to KEELnews.com. Caddo students start a petition for LGBT rights. A group of Southwood High students have written an open letter and started a petition fighting for the rights of one of their fellow students. Cammie Pham, according to the letter, is being discriminated against because the principal will not allow her senior pictures to be published in the yearbook or be shown with other seniors. They say just because the student wears a wig and women's clothing doesn't mean she should be alienated from her class. The petition to allow Pham to participate in all senior activities is posted onto change.org and has over 3,000 signatures. Police are on the hunt for a weekend shooter. Reuben Wright with that.
Police are searching for a gunman who shot a woman during an Easter celebration over the weekend. Carla Colvin was shot during an Easter trail ride in the 2100 block of Narcissus Drive. Colvin was struck in the shoulder, but the wound is considered non-life threatening. No information is known about the shooter at this time. An investigation to the incident is ongoing. For 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Reuben Wright.
Reaction from representatives of Alton Sterling's family after 2 Baton Rouge police officers faced disciplinary action. More from Joy Piazza.
Advocates for Alton Sterling's family say it's a tough day, but they're glad the truth is out. Attorney for Sterling's children, L. Chris Stewart, says he's outraged that Officer Blaine Salamone used the force he did to shoot and kill Sterling.
It was clear that Blaine Salamone came out like a pit bull
and immediately escalated the entire situation.
Salamone was fired from Baton Rouge PD. He was the one who shot Sterling 6 times. His partner, Howie Lake, getting a 3-day suspension. Sterling was selling CDs outside a convenience store when he got into an altercation with police. Joy Piazza, Fox News.
China has raised import duties on a $3 billion list of U.S. pork, apples, and other products in an escalating dispute with Washington over trade and industrial policy. Children had to bundle up in warm coats and rubber boots for an Easter egg hunt in North Dakota. A storm left up to 5 inches of snow on the ground. Now the big Easter egg roll at the White House happens today. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
If you're having payroll tax problems, the IRS can't.
Ten past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Ruben's here. Traffic update for Monday.
Right now. And we have some traffic delays on Airline Drive near Old Minden Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds.
Good morning. It's 12 past 7 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. That KEEL app is a free download from Office Furniture Source. In studio for a little bit is Mr. Rich Lamb. He is the chairman of the board of directors of Sci-Port. Mr. Rich, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Let's start here. Sci-Port. Grr, what a mess. Light at the end of the tunnel, or a little of both?
A little of both. I don't want to misrepresent this and say that all is grand and we're in the clear on anything. That's certainly not the case. What we've been doing is making small strides, not only in reopening Sci-Port, but identifying what happened and getting that answer correct.
So what happened?
What happened? Yeah.
So what happened is first of all, Sci-Port, a little history, you have to understand the history. It started out really in the late 80s, early 90s with a traveling cart, essentially, went to schools and malls.
Mm-hmm.
That then grew to a facility at the old Santa Maria building. My birthday party in the 5th grade was there.
Yeah.
Then in 1998, a $21 million facility was constructed with the help of the city of Shreveport and the state of Louisiana and some large local and non-local donors. The facility today is about 92,000 square feet, a specialized facility. Over a period of time, as y'all cited last week, Southport had a payroll of over $2 million a year.
So that rumor, if you will, is legitimate. That's fact.
That is a fact. And you can see that if you go online to the state legislative audits, it has that information. And so one thing we've been doing is going back and looking at how long that lasted and how is it able to sustain itself.
Now, pardon me, you had first became a member of the Southport Board in what, January of 2015?
That's correct.
At that point, what access did you have to the records, to the fact that you guys are spending $2 million plus a year in salaries, and did anybody go, good, that's an awful lot?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, we were given information, some of it accurate, some of it I don't believe is accurate. I can't say that it was intentional, but at the same time, we were always given consultant reports. A common practice for nonprofits is to get a grant to cover a consulting report. And one of the ones that quickly came out.
So pardon me, so there was sort of another layer of bureaucracy between the actual people, the people who were actually running Southport, and you and the other board members.
That's correct. There's an outside source which you believe you rely on. I would analogize it to this. Each election, let's say take a presidential election, the Democrats are going to have the Brookings Institute come out with some data that supports what they say. The Republicans are going to have something from the Heritage Foundation or something similar supporting what they say. So you can see where third-party reports can have conflicting information.
Sure.
That'll make them stupid people.
But I assume that was just an added, not to get way off track, but that's just another added cost, right? I mean,
it was paid for by somebody else.
Okay.
Yes, and that's the thing. That if we would have paid for it, it could have been very self-serving. One, we couldn't afford to pay for it.
Sure.
Second of all, it was a non-affiliated foundation paid for it, and these people came in and said, one, our accounting practices are best practices. So you have this third party telling you that. It also says that Southport's payroll was slightly above what other things were. I'll tell you, the thing that caught me off guard was not necessarily the number, is the number of employees. If you walked in the back of Southport, you saw a ton of cubicles, and it reminded me, I lived in D.C. for a year. It reminded me of something you see in D.C., one of those government buildings.
You know, when there were first, I think there were the 75 employees, and you laid off, I think it was 35.
That's not correct.
That's incorrect.
We only have 5 people on our payroll right now. Five people close to full-time, 2 or 3 part-time that work in our educational outreach covered by grants. And so I think
But there were a number of reports that said that when you guys closed down, cite that 70-something people lost their jobs.
72. Yes,
Okay.
you're correct. And we rehired 5.
Okay.
And so
I guess the point I was making was when it comes to spending $2 million a year in salaries.
Correct.
What I said a bunch of times was it's not employees 50 through 74 that are killing you. It's usually 1 through 10. Is that a fair assumption?
Not necessarily. No, not at all. In fact, one thing I heard last week, y'all mentioned a $300,000 person.
Not accurate?
Not nowhere even close.
What was your highest paid employee making?
Ann Fumarella was paid $113,000 a year base.
Okay.
And she had health insurance and stuff like that.
Car allowance and things like that?
A limited car allowance.
Okay. Was there some, I don't know, you'll be honest, and was there some graft? Were there some things done wrong that you guys could uncover?
There were maybe bad judgment calls. And I want to be real careful before I criticize people that were on the board or before me, because I don't know what information they were presented with. But I will say that the temptation to use the restricted funds and other things to build up payables was to meet payroll. These weren't people that took money to go buy jet skis or go on trips to Hawaii. Essentially, and this sounds a little harsh, but their hearts were bigger than their brains. You know, they were so passionate about what they were doing, they made some bad financial decisions. But nowhere have I seen any graft or anything like that.
Who was anyone? You talked about this accounting firm, sort of this layer of bureaucracy between the people who ran Southport and you on the board.
That was a one-time deal. We had 2 of those, but it wasn't every year, so it wasn't an accounting firm.
So what I was going to lead to was how did you guys on the board, if there was this layer of protection, this prophylaxis of what was going on, how did you guys find out that if you're being told everything's okay, how did you find out it wasn't?
Really, what came crashing down was the audit that came out late, came out in March 2017. Also at that same time, and this will blow you away, January 2017, we had another consultant tell us that we didn't have enough employees, which is the board was astounded. Like, how's that possible? We had 72 people. And so that was something's wrong here with what we're being told.
I guess the question is, did the people who were operating Cyport, did you said their heart was bigger than their brain? Did they have a sense of we're running this thing into the ground financially, or did they just kind of go, well, everything will work out, we'll get more donors?
It was very much things worked themselves out, which made people really got onto them and said, like, look, that's not how things work. It was always, let's go raise big amounts of money.
Can you hold the thought?
No, hang on. Rich Lamb, chairman of the board of Cyport. I want to talk Planet Aqua Group and your relationship with them when we come back. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
19 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. More with Mr. Rich momentarily. Right now, traffic update. Ruben is here on KEEL.
Road near 3132, and we have some backed up traffic on I-20 westbound due to a stalled vehicle near North Spring Street. It's backed up past Benton Road right now. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Protecting data across modern decentralized networks presents
Check. 21 past 7 o'clock, time for KEEL Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Shreveport's Sam Burns won his first professional tournament, firing a third straight round of 7 under par 65 to win the Savannah Golf Championships on the Web.com Tour. Burns was 6 under over the final 9 holes to bring home the $99,000 first-place check. On Friday night, Ariki Ogunbowale sent Notre Dame into the Women's National Championship with a buzzer-beating shot that sank UConn. Last night, she dialed up an off-balance three-pointer again at the buzzer to send the Irish to a 61-58 win over Mississippi State for all the marbles. Tonight, Villanova and Michigan will settle the men's national title in San Antonio. The Pelicans were knocked off by Oklahoma City 109-104 Sunday. The loss dropped New Orleans into the 8th and final playoff spot of the Western Conference with just 5 games remaining. The Pels are only 1 game ahead of 9th place Denver, but they're also just 2 games out of 4th place. And in the big leagues yesterday, the Houston Astros knocked off the Rangers 8-2 to take the series. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Clean energy, saving customers.
22 past 7 o'clock, 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. In studio, Mr. Rich Lamb. He is chairman of the board of Scyport.
Rich, I wanted to ask you, Planet Aqua Group was going to manage Scyport. They're now not managing Scyport. What is the relationship with Scyport and the Planet Aqua Group at this time?
Well, currently we have a management agreement in place, but Scyport suspended it. We were retaining the services of Planet Aqua Group to oversee construction and a lot of employees. After we shut down and we began to make plans for that construction and hiring of employees, we found more and more, essentially landmines, call it, financially, that the board didn't know about. That really mitigated the positive effects of going forward with any kind of fundraising.
Can you tell us more about those landmines?
What is landmines?
So let me give you one simple example. You have a copy machine at your office. We found that we were going to cancel the copy machines. We didn't need that many. We only had 5 people, and there was no reason to have that many copy machines. Well, Scyport, through its prior, someone that wasn't even an officer but an employee of Scyport, signed a 5-year copier agreement with Konica Minolta that pretty much we have to pay $50,000 to $60,000 to cancel.
Whoa!
And so that's just an example of something.
It sounds to me like, going back to the first segment, the vast majority of the financial problems you described are just oversight, like people just not. The wrong people in the wrong positions, or people who shouldn't be making decisions.
And it's one of those things that you find in a file. So typically, the bylaws say this, that entering into an agreement like that, the board has to approve. And there's nothing in the minutes. I was on the board then. I recall nothing along those lines, but it was stuck in a paper file, and we found it later.
There's been reports that you're going to ask the parish for a $2 million loan.
Absolutely not. In fact,
completely false?
Completely false. What happened was there was a meeting with one of our board members and Ted Magner from the Chamber of Commerce and one of our employees. It was a meeting I was invited to because Alan Brown, our educational outreach director, was there. We didn't get our typical about $60,000 grant from them for kids from Caddo Parish to come in. And so when I saw that meeting, it's like, okay, I got other things I got to work on for Scyport. Alan can go and give his talk. That'll be good. During the discussions, first of all, that came to my surprise when Nick Wooten reached out to me and sent me an email the other day.
That's the Times reporter.
The Times reporter.
Okay.
And who, to their credit, quickly supplemented that with my side of the story. And then I talked to Tim and Linda, and I had a meeting with Tim that day, actually, on an unrelated matter. And he said, Rich, we were there to talk about the grant and just all kinds of ideas around the table. There was no formal ask or anything along those lines. This is being blown way out of proportion. And if you watch I did a presentation to the City Council and the Caddo Parish Commission, and there's a line of questioning from Commissioner Jackson where he's like, "You're not here to ask for money." And if you look at the video, I'm like, "What do you?" I made it very clear. I'm just here to give everyone an update.
Right.
Same as the City Council the week before, and I'm very confused by the line of questioning. And I asked people on the board, and they were confused too, and no one really got why he was asking me these questions. And it turns out that he was under the impression that we were dead hard serious and asking for $2 million. $2 million didn't correlate to anything in our financials,
right?
Which made it even more confusing.
What is the Scyport debt?
The Scyport debt we're not going to talk about right now, and I'm going to tell you why. One, we are going through and verifying. Remember, we don't have the infrastructure employee. Our employees are running POP and other stuff, including cleaning bathrooms. The board is managing day to day. We have our audit that came out March 2017. We have not paid for, because we don't have the money to. It's $15,000, and they can't do our next audit unless we pay them for the old one, and then we got to pay for the new audit. And so I'm not going to release financial statements. I can give some general stuff.
If I gave you a $2 million check, does that get you out of debt?
Absolutely, and then some.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want a $2,000 debt because as chairman, I'd have to sign that promissory note, and I don't know if we could pay that back because we don't have a permanent, reliable source of revenue. So I'd be signing that in bad faith.
What is
membership revenues are down?
Membership revenues, we're not selling new memberships. And so we're not going to do that until we have the plan to reopen the rest. We're not going to ask for any money from anyone other than attendance. And when you go into Scyport now, there's a button kind of like you at a CVS. You can give $1 at St. Jude's. You can give it to the Scyport Foundation, which is an endowment that we have.
Okay.
What kind of restructuring plan? I'm sure that when you and the board members get together, you had said in the Times article, working on the restructuring plan. Any hints?
Well, one, we're verifying debts. Let me give you an example. One, on our payables.
Pardon me, I don't know anything about being on a board, but when you say verifying debts.
Correct.
What I say is you don't know what your debt is?
Well, what I'm saying is because of what's happened in the past, all of our financial statements are guilty until proven innocent. We're not giving them due process. So we're pulling up the invoices, checking, making sure everything's correct. For example, one thing was overstated by $117,000 for IMAX.
What does overstate mean? I'm sorry.
That means we owe.
I mean, I know what it means,
yeah.
but isn't that just a fancy word for lie?
Not at all. Not at all. There's in our old financial statements, you look at it. We owe IMAX. I'll give you one example. We owe IMAX $30,000 for royalties, and we're cooperating. They're being very friendly because they're trying to sell us some more IMAX movies. At one point, it was on our financial statement as $140,000, which is incorrect. And so what we do is we call the creditor. We ask them to send us in writing the amounts owed. We check that against our financial statements. And these are board members doing this. We don't have the employees do this. We just call them essentially when I have time. If I have someone that is not owed a lot of money, I'll get me or another director. We'll say, look, we'll give you, let's say, $250. We'll cut you a check, personal check today. And we're handling it that way. Now, we can't pick and choose creditors. That's what people have to understand. Mm-hmm. So if I got $100 in, I couldn't say, okay, I'm going to take care of this one today. They all have to be treated equally, with the exception of things that are related to restricted funds.
Rich Lamb, we got to go to break. We'll come right back after the news. You can hang around one more segment, please?
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. Rich Lamb, chairman of the board of directors of Cyport More, is on the way. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Traffic time for Monday. Here's, almost said Rich. Here's Ruben.
Right now, and we're still looking at some heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound starting at Spring and Market. It's backed up past Benton Road right now. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast: warm and humid today, a high of 78, and mild tonight with a low of 66. Cloudy, breezy, warm and humid again tomorrow with a high of 79. We'll have to watch for a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Mark Rohde here with Men of
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Police are on the hunt for a gunman who shot a woman during an Easter celebration. Carla Colvin shot during an Easter trail ride on Narcissus Drive. Colvin was wounded in the shoulder, but is expected to survive. No information is known about the shooter. Jamel Haskell shot multiple times in a convenience store in Natchitoches. Jaquarius Artisan, the main suspect in the murder. Authorities say the two men had a fight shortly before the shooting. Artisan is wanted by Natchitoches PD for first-degree murder. A weekend wreck on I-20 leaves a woman dead. According to police, a motorcyclist was cut off on I-20 eastbound, causing them to crash, which started a multi-car pileup. A female passenger on the motorcycle was killed during the wreck. Baton Rouge Representative Pat Smith's legislation that would prevent schools from taking lunches away from students with unpaid school debts is moving to the House floor. Smith says her legislation would prevent schools from publicly rejecting lunches for students. Smith says the bill was inspired by heartbreaking stories from her constituents.
There have been children that we understand in some of our schools who may have made it all the way with their tray to the lunch lady and found out that they had a debt and the tray was taken away from them.
There are some concerns about the bill being an unfunded mandate for school districts that would require them to feed hungry children without a guarantee of repayment. Caddo students began a petition for LGBT rights. A group of Southwood High students have written an open letter and started a petition fighting for the rights of one of their fellow students. Cammie Pham, according to the letter, is being discriminated against because the principal will not allow her senior pictures to be published in the yearbook or be shown with other senior students. Shreveport Mudbugs finalist in a national competition. We get more on that from Reuben Wright.
Mudbugs have been named one of 4 finalists for the Kraft Hockeyville competition. The competition will highlight the city and team with the best hockey story. If the Mudbugs win, they can earn $150,000, and Hirsch will have a chance to host an NHL preseason game. For more information on how to help the Mudbugs win, head to KEELnews.com. For 1017 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Reuben Wright.
The parents of Maxwell Groover, who died last year in a hazing incident at LSU, will be at the Capitol to show support for a bill that would stiffen criminal penalties for those found guilty of hazing. Groover's father, Steve, says the only way to stop hazing is to send a strong message backed up with tough penalties.
Hazing must end. Education awareness are keys, but without strong laws and enforcement, there's just no real deterrence.
The Max Groover Act passed through committee without objection and will now be heard on the House floor. President Trump calling on Mexico to do more about illegal immigration at the U.S. border.
Mexico has got to help us at the border. They flow right through Mexico. They send them into the United States. Can't happen that way anymore.
The president making those comments Sunday as he arrived for an Easter Mass in Palm Beach, Florida. Ever shop at Saks? Well, if you did, you may have gotten more than you bargained for. A data breach at the store chains may have resulted in having personal information of customers who shopped at the stores compromised. Notre Dame rallies to beat Mississippi State in the NCAA Women's Championship. Arike Ngumbawale, the hero once again for the Fighting Irish. She nailed the game-winning three-pointer with under a second to go.
When I saw it travel a little bit, I thought so, but, the last play was just a lot going on. I can't really even describe it.
The men's title game is tonight. It's Villanova and Michigan. And Steven Spielberg has a beef with a burger chain. Carl's Jr. wanted to rename its Charbroiled Slider a Spielburger. They tried to deliver samples to Spielberg's office, even left a note on his car. Spielberg's production company released a short video in which Spielberg said the burgers are pretty good, but they should cease and desist from naming them after him. I'm Erin McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Good morning. It's 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, 736. Once again, Rich Lamb, chairman of the board of Cyport, is with us for a couple more moments.
Rich, do you get any money from the government? Are you ruling that out? What kind of government involvement is in Cyport?
In terms of ruling out, I stated very clearly we're not going to ask the commission for a $2 million loan. With that being said, at the commission, pardon me, I believe at the council, I said all options are on the table. We're not going to ask North Korea or Syria or other, state sponsors of terror, but
everybody else is open.
Everybody else is open, but there's also a reality there, and especially when it comes to loans. If someone gives us a gift, that's great. Someone makes a loans money to us. I mean, as a chairman, I have to sign that in good faith. And if I don't have a permanent source of revenue to cover that, I can tell you right now, this chairman is not going to sign it.
Who owns Cyport?
So the building is, the name and intellectual property is owned by Cyport Discovery Center, a Louisiana nonprofit corporation. That's separate from the government. The city of Shreveport owns the building. The city of Shreveport owns a large number of the exhibits. If Cyport did not exist, those exhibits would go back to the city of Shreveport. That includes the property around the building and other things, too.
If Cyport goes bankrupt, the city's holding the tab for your debts?
No, ma'am.
Huh, how so?
They're not the creditor.
Ah, okay.
The debtor,
but the building could be seized, could it not?
Not at all. No liens can be filed against it, nothing.
Okay.
You've been on the board more than 3 years. You've been director since
January 2015.
But you've been director.
I've been chairman
of the board since
December 2017.
Right, not long at all. Looking back on your tenure and the folks you work with on the board over the last 3+ years that you've been there, and what you've told us this morning about and maybe misled by some people is too strong a word, but at some point, are you and the other members of the board really angry, and was there yelling?
There have been some very heated conversations in board meetings, and I forgot we're on radio. No one can see my face right now, but there's a smirk there. There's been some very heated conversations. Now,
where you called people in and literally you said, "What the hell did you do?"
There was something along those lines. So, some of it was held outside of a board meeting before a formal board meeting. One thing that happened was in the spring of 2017, there was a proposed budget, and several of us stood up and said, "There's no way in heck we're doing this."
So what do you know now that you wish you knew 3 years ago?
Well, I wish I knew more details about some of the payables, and by details I mean it's not. When you look at our AP, it's just a number, not the 0 to 30, 60 to 90 breakdown. And the amounts.
I guess my question was, if as a board member now, are you going to be less inclined to accept a financial report from people that you are in charge of overseeing?
Oh, absolutely. And that, I think that's a smart thing to do. And I think it creates checks and balances, internal controls. I think also, if I'm the person, let's say I was the executive director of Cyport, I would want internal controls and things like that and checks and balances to protect me, too, so people aren't second-guessing my intentions.
Time for one more, kids.
IMAX is reopening this week. What's the date? When can I come see Jaws?
That's not Jaws. And for those of you out there, we cannot show major Hollywood films.
Right.
There are a number of laws and other things that prevent us from doing that. But
This is not China, my friend.
Yeah.
Exactly. We aren't stealing anyone's intellectual property. But IMAX is really working with us, and they gave us the movie Pandas, which is a new movie about raising baby pandas and their life and stuff like that. And April 6th or 7th, we have a day open just to members.
Okay.
And that's not typically how we do things. We want to recognize people who paid for memberships prior to us shutting down. And then I believe the 7th is open to the public. And after that, there's going to be schedules released on Facebook. By the way, if you want information, that's the best way to do it, is to check our Facebook page.
More construction is continuing?
No, man. We halted that. When we discovered that we did not have the resources to continue to do anything, we stopped everything, told those people while we were stopping, and started to really go through and do some due diligence on different ways of doing things. We are not going to build anything until we know how we're going to pay for it. We're going to have those funds in place from a reliable source, and we have a good plan. The issue is not so much building stuff, is maintaining it and equipping it with employees. So what we're going to do is open everything up incrementally. In other words, let's say this is for example, 10% at a time. We'll hire some employees, see how that goes. If it goes well, we're covering that cost. Then we'll move on to the next thing. 2 things I can tell you are going to be outsourced: the gift shop and the cafe. Keeping our science center open is hard enough. We don't need to be in the restaurant business or the retail business. And until then, we're working with food trucks to allow for food trucks to be down there. for some very small nominal fee so that our patrons can enjoy those food trucks and encourage people from downtown to avail themselves of those food trucks.
Rich Lamb, chairman of the Cyport Board. Hope you'll come back and do it again soon.
Anytime y'all need me, just let me know.
1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Traffic update coming up right now. Speaking of Reuben, here he is.
The intersection at North Market near North Common Street's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
This is a special notice to all U.S.
Matt's going to be off when from he works Wednesday and then is off Thursday.
No, he works Tuesday, then he's off.
Okay, so you're working Tuesday.
One more day.
I'll be here tomorrow, assisting Ruben here. Say hello, Ruben.
Hello, Ruben.
Just hit him in the eye. Just hit him in the eye with the microphone. 1017 FM is 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, 745.
Oh.
You're going to New Orleans for WrestleMania.
I am. Me and 80,000 of my closest friends will be down
man.
there, supporting the great
Can we
state
call
of
you?
Louisiana.
Can we call you and you can do like a live report of WrestleMania?
Unless
Will you be
you're
sober?
calling me on a Sunday, no. And Monday morning, I may still be up from the night before.
Well, that'd be good. That would be good. I'm looking forward to calling him.
You can give it a try.
WrestleMania's
You knock
huge.
yourself out.
It's huge.
Yesterday, an enormous day in Shreveport sports, and that has to do with the Kraft Hockeyville promotion from Kraft Foods. And Shreveport, more specifically George's Pond, more specifically George's Pond at Hirsch Coliseum, the home of the Mudbugs, is one of the 4 national finalists.
That's incredible.
Competing for $150,000 in renovation funds.
Mm-hmm.
$150,000. You can do a lot with $150,000.
Oh, no doubt.
The way it's us. It's an outdoor rink where in Vermont.
I can't remember if the outdoor rink was the one in Vermont or New York, but it was somewhere cold. There were snow banks on the side.
I think that was the Vermont one, but both. I mean, the one in Vermont, if that's whichever one was the outdoor rink, literally looked as though it was built on a chemical site, which means eventually, it's like 3 Mile Island, basically. And so you don't want to vote for them because, little kids with gills and stuff. Nobody wants to do that.
The winning city's going to get $150,000 for their hockey rink.
Yep.
An NHL preseason game. KeelNews.com. You can vote. I'm voting right now.
You can't vote right now.
You can't?
No.
April 13th and 14th.
It'll take you to the link.
The final vote, and it will give you details, which is why we have to beat this up every single day. The voting is April 13th. There's a 24-hour window. You can only vote once from what I understand. And of the 4 finalists, the site that gets the most votes wins the $150,000.
And there are videos of each of the towns on the website. So just click the link at KeelNews.com. It'll take you to where you can see George's Pond spotlighted. It's so cool.
You see those little kids in Vermont being exposed to heavy radiation, chemicals, antifreeze.
Yeah. Brandon Valley, South Dakota.
Don't feel that bad for them. 748, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, coming up just after the 8 o'clock. A little more on got some interesting texts on our should everybody get free school lunch. And you seem to think so. No matter the cost, we have a responsibility to create more dependence on government. I kind of twisted that, didn't I?
Yeah, you sure did.
But that's what you're doing. 749, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. It's time for traffic. Here's Ruben.
Slow moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Buncombe Road near Woolworth Road. If you know something we don't, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast: warm and humid today, a high of 78, and mild tonight with a low 66. Cloudy, breezy, warm and humid again tomorrow with a high of 79. We'll have to watch for a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
1017 FM and 710 Keel. Our Keel Poll of the Week. Find it online at KeelNews.com. KeelNews.com.
Good morning, 752, 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Sports update. Here's Whisperin' Tim.
Shreveport's Sam Burns won his first professional tournament, firing a third straight round of 7 under par 65 to win the Savannah Golf Championships on the Web.com tour. Burns was 6 under over the final 9 holes to bring home the $99,000 first-place check. On Friday night, Ariki Ogunbowale sent Notre Dame into the Women's National Championship with a buzzer-beating shot that sank UConn. Last night, she dialed up an off-balance three-pointer again at the buzzer to send the Irish to a 61-58 win over Mississippi State for all the marbles. Tonight, Villanova and Michigan will settle the men's national title in San Antonio. The Pelicans were knocked off by Oklahoma City 109-104 Sunday. The loss dropped New Orleans into the 8th and final playoff spot of the Western Conference with just 5 games remaining. The Pels are only 1 game ahead of 9th place Denver, but they're also just 2 games out of 4th place. And in the big leagues yesterday, the Houston Astros knocked off the Rangers 8-2 to take the series. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
You know how to tell if somebody's serious about their work? Uh, 755, 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, I had asked you last week. Well, I had seen the post that a friend of ours, Paul in New Orleans, put up, and he's a program director at a rock station. And he had sort of done this on-air survey, and it was about what album, what music changed your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was like Allman Brothers Eat a Peach. And
yeah.
Matt mentioned Bob Dylan and some other stuff. And I had said, much to my dismay, I said, I just can't think of anything. I mean, there's just I taxed my brain all weekend trying to think of an album that changed and there's just not one. There's just literally not one. Can you think of the last album you bought, either on vinyl, cassette, CD? You tell me, what was the last album that you bought?
I bought, oddly enough.
Or to be blunt about it, or stole from a radio station because you work at one.
CD, you said?
Whatever. What was the last one that you said that so intrigued you by what artist said, man, I want that for my collection?
The Mannheim Steamroller Christmas CD.
Right.
I got that.
Okay.
Personally bought an album, a vinyl album. This is odd that you mentioned that.
It can be an 8-track. It doesn't matter.
Was the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack, and I missed that last night. I'm so upset.
John Legend.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, we got to
go.
Wait till I tell you mine. I'll tell you in just a couple of seconds. 757, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Here's Sean Hannity.
Morning Minute.
President Trump's media coverage for 2018 is starting to resemble the shamefully, abusively biased coverage that dominated all of 2017. Now, Newsbusters reports that out of 851 total minutes of airtime devoted to the administration, the network spent 204 minutes, 24%, on the Russia investigation, eclipsing other major topics, like the economy, immigration reform, even the gun debate. And according to the report, network coverage zeroed in on so-called scandals of the Trump administration, information, and 63% of their coverage focusing in on topics like Russia and Michael Wolff's book. And out of the 712 evaluative statements about President Trump issued by anchors and reporters on network news channels, well, a whopping 9% were positive, 91% negative. Some things never change.
The Sean Hannity Show from coast to coast later today.
I'm Jay Farner from Quicken Loans. Choosing the right mortgage lender means choosing much more than just a rate. Only Quicken Loans has earned 12 J.D. Power Awards. No other lender comes close to that level of client satisfaction. And we invented Rocket Mortgage. It gives our clients a simpler, hassle-free way to get a mortgage completely online in minutes. No one else has anything like it. And our people. Each one of our 17,000 plus team members throughout Detroit, Cleveland, and Phoenix provides absolute client satisfaction each and every day. So why would you go anywhere else to get your mortgage? Go to America's #1 online lender. If working with America's #1 online lender matters to you, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com for the best mortgage experience on earth. That's 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
1017 FM, 710 Keel. A little slur there. I'm impersonating Erin. Traffic time. Here's Ruben, and he's on Keel.
Keeping an eye right now on some slow-moving traffic on Shreveport-Barksdale Highway near Knight Street. And we have some traffic delays on Barksdale Boulevard near Hamilton Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning. It's 8:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Local news is just seconds away, and Erin is getting ready right now.
Caddo students start a petition for LGBT rights. We'll talk about that. How you can help the Mudbugs and Hirsch Coliseum. That's coming up, too. And a Baton Rouge representative wants lunches for all kids.
Should we just throw in should free lunches for every child in Louisiana be part of their school day? And at that point, why not pay for breakfast and dinner too? If they're not being fed at home, shouldn't we as a merciful and caring society just pick up the tab for every school child in Louisiana for 3 meals a day? But wait, what if it costs too much? Plus, there was something else. Oh, a little rehash of Rich Lamb. That's the Cyport director. Let me see. He's the chairman of the board of directors. He joined us last hour.
And your Win Cash code is coming up in just a couple of minutes. Your shot at 5 Gs.
Plus Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather. And it's here this hour coming up on KEEL. .101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert and Erin. Oh, KEEL Cash is back. The special code word you need to know to be eligible to win $5,000 is Easter. You got that? It's Easter. Log on, KEELnews.com. KEEL Cash, you could win.
KEEL News now.
Caddo students start a petition for LGBT rights. Reuben Wright has more.
A group of Southwood High students have written an open letter and started a petition fighting for the rights not allow her senior pictures to be published in the yearbook or be shown with the other senior students. They say just because the student wears a wig and women's clothing doesn't mean she should be alienated from her class. The petition to allow FAM to participate in all senior activities is posted to change.org and has over 3,000 signatures. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Reuben Wright.
Shreveport Mudbugs finalists for the Kraft Hockeyville competition. The competition will highlight the city and the team with the best hockey story. If the Mudbugs win, they could earn $150,000, and Hirsch will have a chance to host an NHL preseason game. For more info on how to help the Mudbugs win, head to KEELnews.com. Police on the hunt for a gunman who shot a woman during an Easter celebration. Carla Colvin was shot during an Easter trail ride on Narcissus Drive. Colvin was struck in the shoulder, but the wound is not considered life-threatening. Jamel Haskell was shot multiple times in a convenience store in Natchitoches. Jaquarius Artisan, the main suspect in the murder. Authorities say there was a fight between the men shortly before the shooting. Artisan is wanted by Natchitoches PD for first-degree murder. A weekend wreck on I-20 leaves a woman dead. According to police, a motorcyclist was cut off on I-20 eastbound, causing them to crash and start a multi-car pileup. A female passenger on the motorcycle was killed during the wreck. Several other motorists were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Baton Rouge Representative Pat Smith's legislation that would prevent schools from taking lunches away from students with unpaid school debts is moving to the House floor. Smith says her legislation would prevent schools from publicly rejecting lunches for students and stop them from shaming kids whose parents are either negligent or unable to afford the meals.
Many children have been actually denied the opportunity to have a lunch because they have not paid a bill.
Smith says the bill was inspired by heartbreaking stories from her constituents' children. The parents of Maxwell Groover, who died last year in an alleged hazing incident at LSU, expected the Capitol to show support for a bill that would stiffen the penalties for those found guilty of hazing. The Max Groover Act passed through committee without objection and will be heard on the House floor. Groover's father, Steve, says this bill will save lives.
The country is looking at the state of Louisiana, and this is the best written bill we've seen, and we've looked at every single one of them.
The bill would make hazing a felony. Millions of us do it. Order something on Amazon.com, pay state taxes on the products, then have it delivered through the post office. But as we found out over the weekend, it's something the president is not happy about. He's been attacking Amazon on Twitter, calling the whole process a ripoff. Former LSU football coach Les Miles dipping his toes into the film industry, looking to take his distinctive character to the silver screen. Patrick Mulhern, a senior director at Louisiana Economic Development, says the transition from pigskin to productions should be smooth for the Mad Hatter.
And, I think Coach recognizes that reading a script and acting in a scene is a lot like running a play.
Miles will appear in a film inspired about the Challenger explosion called Angry Men. Mulhern says he's looking forward to Coach's portrayal of a NASA chief. Notre Dame, the national champion in women's basketball, after hitting a last-second shot to beat Mississippi State. Arike Ogumbawale scored 14 of her 18 points in the second half, including the tie-breaking three-pointer with just ticks left on the clock. The men's final is tonight, Michigan and Villanova. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Every business needs great people.
Right now, and we have some traffic delays on Buncombe Road near Woolworth Road. If you know something we don't, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline at 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
If it's time to sell your house, if you're looking to buy, it is time to get in touch with Chris Hayes and the Chris Hayes team at Keller Williams Realty Northwest. The numbers do indeed say it all. They sell more than 100 homes a year. That's a home sold every 3 days. Time to get buying or selling. Call the Chris Hayes team at 207-7653 or online at norischomeselling.com and enter the coupon code KEEL and you'll get a free home warranty certificate worth $600.
If you ever want to buy a house or a car, you're going to want to know your credit score. If there's a mistake on your credit reports, you could pay more in interest rates and fees than you have to. Where can you go online to quickly get your credit score and credit report for free? CreditKarma.com/radio. Check it whenever you like. It's free and there's no catch. Don't get an unwanted surprise about your credit score. Go to CreditKarma.com/radio. That's CreditKarma.com/radio.
Good morning. It's 11 past 8 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. The KEEL app is a free download presented by Office Furniture Source. So you had a story a bunch of times in the news this morning about, in the broadest sense, Louisiana kids and free school lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it has to do lunch shaming. And look, I get that. But the question is, should we Louisianans, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, we have to decide. It's just like everything else. And I'll tie this into tops later in the segment. We've decided as a state that TOPS is a good program and that we want to fund it to the maximum of our abilities.
Yes.
And we'll talk about the moral aspects of that. Yes, moral aspects of that just a bit later. But speaking of moral aspects, should we just go ahead and pay for 3 meals a day, not 1, not 2? Because a lot of, if not most schools have breakfast now too. Should we just pay for 3 meals a day for every kid that's in school across Louisiana?
I don't know about that. The bill that they're discussing.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is not for free meals. The bill would prevent schools from taking lunches away from students who have unpaid school debts.
It's called a free meal.
So essentially, if the child goes through the line and the lunch lady ringing them up realizes you don't have any money on your account or you owe for library books or something else,
And you don't have it.
we're going to take your lunch away from you.
I understand that entirely.
It's different than free food. It's a
how is
whole
giving-
different program.
How is giving them, if they don't have to pay for that lunch?
They're still going to owe for the lunch.
Okay, but what if they never pay?
Well,
look,
you don't. There's a lot of things I've had. You're barren, so let me just give you this.
Let's try this and understand. This is one of those things that we as a society, we have to decide because we have created, as a conservative, I have no problem saying this, we have created, the Democrats to a great degree and a lot of Republicans too, we have created a perpetual underclass.
Right.
So when when Dr. Gorey comes in here, or Dr. Cade Brumley, now in Jefferson Parish, formerly in DeSoto, when those two men come in here and say that there are kids who come to school on Monday, and Dr. Gorey told the story about the football player. I'm not going to mention the school. He said the kid came to school on Monday, and it's lunchtime, and he said, I haven't been fed since Friday when I was here at school.
Let me make this real clear to you. There's two people we're talking about here. There's people who can't afford to feed their kids. We all would agree we want to help them. Then there's those who are forgetful, are procrastinators, or just didn't get to it. And I've been in that boat where my kid has come through the line and their account was at zero. Okay? And you get a note home, hey, your account's at zero, and you send a check. Here's what schools need to do a better job of. If your account gets to zero, the kid shouldn't be involved. The parent should be contacted and said, if you don't bring your account current, then your child won't get to go on this field trip, or your child won't get his report card, or your child won't get to keep playing football. Whatever it is, make it real clear to the parent. By this date,
but you're going to continue to feed the kid.
You continue to feed the kid.
Which is free lunch.
But you eventually, that parent in that avenue is going to catch up. I'm going to catch up on my bill. That's the parent I want to address here. The others, we all would agree, let's help those kids. They haven't eaten all weekend. They need food. We want to help them. It's the ones who are just occasionally are deadbeats, or they're forgetful, or they procrastinate, or they didn't get to it, or thought daddy got to it and mama get to it. Those we need to take action at the school that doesn't shame the child.
Does that require a law?
I don't know that. I don't know that you need a law. I think schools could do, and some schools do a great job of this. I know there'd be days at Byrd when I'd get an email saying, hey, your kids, you need money in their account, or whatever.
Are you just legislating manners at that point? Is that just such a governmental overreach that maybe the school should handle better? And bluntly put, so should the parents.
Well, it is a little bit of a problem because at some schools where you're trying to feed hundreds and hundreds of kids, if lots of kids are coming through the line and they're having to stop, oh, you don't have money in the line, you don't have money on your account, we got to talk to this child, you're slowing up that line, and kids already have to eat fast enough anyway. A lot of them have to eat in 10 minutes. Let's just let the kids go through the line, feed them, and then let's let the school administrators deal with the parents on the account issues. And if you told me one day, my son's not going to get to go to ROTC, or my son's not going to get to practice for soccer or whatever, if you don't bring this account up, trust me, it's going to be up the next day.
So at any point, so you would be willing to, and let me play devil's advocate here. Oh, wait, there's no hell. Let me play devil's advocate here. You would at some point be willing to hurt the kid.
They don't have any other way. They can't sue you for the school lunches. I guess they could. You signed a deal in the beginning of the year. But, you at some point you're going to have to impact the kids, but you're not going to impact them publicly in front of all their friends and all their peers. It's going to be done through mom and dad.
But at some
mom and
point,
dad's going to know clearly, little Johnny, guess what? If I don't pay this bill.
At some point you are in favor of that school or the district or whomever taking, for lack of a better term, punitive measures against the child to get the adults to pay.
That's the only pinch they have. That's the only pinch they have. At some point, that has to be what they do.
18 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Rich Lamb, he is the chairman of the board of directors at Cyport. He joined us in the 7 o'clock hour. A little review and what we took away from that chat. The entire interview will be online later this morning at KEELnews.com. As we go to break, I want you to think about what was one big thing you took away from that interview and from what Mr. Rich had to say. And based on what he told us in that half hour or more, what would you, Erin McCarty, a longtime supporter of Cyport, one of the like a charter member practically, what do you think? Where do you think it will be in 6 months or a year? Based on what Mr. Rich had to say.
Okay.
19 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic time right now. And here is Ruben, and he's on KEEL.
Traffic right now, and we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street and Closures City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
For 85 years, Mueller has been a force in the steel construction industry, producing metal products right here in the United States.
Twenty past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL time for sports. Here's Tim.
This is Tim Fletcher. Shreveport Sam Burns won his first professional tournament, firing a third straight round of 7 under par 65 to win the Savannah Golf Championships on the Web.com tour. Burns was 6 under over the final 9 holes to bring home the $99,000 first place check. On Friday night, Ariki Gunbowale sent Notre Dame into the Women's National Championship with a buzzer-beating shot that sank UConn. Last night, she dialed up an off-balance three-pointer again at the buzzer to send the Irish
23 past 8 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. It's 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Okay, last hour, Rich Lamb, chairman of the board of directors for Sci-Port. So what was the one, did you have the biggest takeaway?
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, I apologize. We don't have it up yet. Maybe 9:30 or 10 o'clock. We'll have the entire interview online at keelnews.com.
Mm-hmm.
What was the number one takeaway? What was the number one? What?
It was what he wouldn't talk about.
Tell me.
The debt. He wasn't going to go there. So I'm very concerned about that because we see the report in the Times that they're wanting $2 million from the parish,
But
which
you
he
know
said
what?
was absolutely not true.
Yes, when you said if I just or some other very generous donor dropped a couple $1 million on you, would that take care of you? He said, oh, yeah, with a lot to spare.
But it troubles me to know what is the debt? How much do they owe? How far have we been getting into debt? And because Sci-Port needs to come back, full Sci-Port, not just the pop exhibit, not just the IMAX. Our community needs that full children's interactive museum open.
So here's basically what I took away. Now, Mr. Rich has been on the board since 2015, right? Yeah, since December of 2015, and he's been chairman of the board of directors since December. And he said, and this is what I took away, that the biggest problem they've had is that layer of financial bureaucracy between the people who are operating Sci-Port, then they would give the financial information to not
A consultant.
Okay, who would in turn pass the information on to the board. That they, Sci-Port, were not paying for this financial consultant. But the financial consultant, for whatever price they were getting for whomever, was evidently, at least in my mind, not being given the full story by the people operating the museum. Am I wrong to jump to I'm not jumping to a conclusion. Didn't he basically say that?
Yeah.
That we would get reports, meaning Rich and the board would get, because I said, look, you've been on since 2015. At what point did the bells and the alarms and the whistles go off and you say, hold on just a second. We're spending $2 million a year in salaries, and that's okay? Well, you know what the problem was? Is that the board was being told by this financial consultant who was being told by the operators of the facility that, in fact, that was okay. And that, in fact, that we got no problems here. No need to worry. Everything is fine.
Yeah.
The problem I have is, and this is what a lot of people have said, couldn't you just walk through Sci-Port any time in the last 2 or 3 years and know there was a problem?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was in Sci-Port.
Pardon me again, couldn't you just walk through and know by is deterioration too strong a word, deterioration of the physical plant, that they had some problems?
Let me get to my point.
That whatever money there was, and the board was being told by the financial consultant, being told by the people running the we're okay.
Yeah.
We got no problems. Couldn't you just walk through?
I did that. I did just that, Robert, and I went through with a friend's child about 3 years ago. I hadn't been in many years, hadn't had a membership in many years. My kids are grown, but I was there all the time when they were little, all the time. I have nitrogen ice cream running through my veins. But about 3 years ago when I went, I noticed and I said to myself how dirty things looked, how it didn't look fresh, it didn't look clean, and it reminded me of a children's museum I went to in Dallas. Dallas has a few of them, but one of them we visited in Dallas was like run down and it hadn't been upgraded and things were rickety and broken. And I thought, oh my, Sci-Port's getting to where it's like old and it's going to be unattractive. We need to really, and they had done some modernization in a couple of things but some of it was the same old stuff.
So the question I just asked, then in your mind, that is not an unfounded
I
or
noticed
illegitimate
it.
question.
Oh, absolutely noticed it.
Okay, and you're not on the board, and I'm not on the board.
No.
But you were there 3 years ago, and you said, "Man, it's a little seedy here."
Yeah, it really was. And I thought to myself then, gosh, I hope they do something to upgrade.
So, where, based on what Mr. Rich told us, Rich Lamb, and I didn't get the sense. I'm not going to say he wasn't overly optimistic, but he basically said, unless we can pay cash for it, we can't get it.
Right. Yeah, they're not planning, because I thought about, what about phase 2? You opened Pop. You got the IMAX opening this week. What about the rest of the museum?
5 full-time people right now, I guess.
Said not happening. Not going to do it until we know we have the money to do it.
And they are looking to restructure. And
which I think is responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, big time responsible.
But that being the case, just don't look for a big Cyport bounce back in the next, I don't know.
I know.
Unless Erin McCarty, lottery winner.
Yeah, see, and I would.
Drops
if I won the lottery, I would take care of it.
Drops a couple of million on site.
Cyport is a valuable asset to our city, and all city leaders need to step up and do what we have to do to help.
No, we don't have time to get off on this. No, Shreveport shouldn't put any money into it. No,
I'm not saying put money into it.
Then what do you mean when you say
help market it? Talk about it. Post on your Facebook about it. Let's get people to go to Cyport. Let's be sure that it's one of those things we talk about.
Basically, what it really needs. Let me ask you this blunt question before we go. Based on the last X number of years of operation, if you had 200, 500, 700, whatever you had to donate, based on how it's been run, what kind of assurances would you want that was a good investment that you were going to get, and the people of Shreveport would get the bang for your buck that you're willing to give? 29 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, traffic update coming up right now. Here's Ruben.
Some slow-moving traffic right now, and we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Gary Calligas and the Best of Times Radio. Oklahoma Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got in Kentucky, you've got teachers walking out. Obviously, they don't think they're getting paid enough.
Right.
Now we're back to free school lunches. Now we're back to free stuff. Now we're back to TOPS. How much is government? How much is, you know what? Maybe we'll cover this more in the next segment.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of other things I wanted to talk about that we haven't covered yet. But I'm just going to tell you something. And if you want to comment on it or you just want to go, damn, when I'm done, you can do that.
Okay.
In reference to the public, in reference to America's public school system, a former teacher, somebody who got out of the business, told me once and recently that the American education system is so screwed up. The public school system is so screwed up. Not saying who's to blame, not saying who's at fault. I'm just saying, I'm laying it in the teacher's lap, not necessarily educators. I don't know, administrators, etc. But here's what I was told, that the American education system from top to bottom is such a bureaucratic mess that the only hope for educating our children decently is a complete implosion where basically it all goes back to Little House on the Prairie type schools.
Whoa. Really? Every corner would have a school?
I don't know. Every little village,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what the teacher told, the ex-teacher told me.
How could we ever afford that?
How much did that cost? It was free.
Well, they're all going to have technology. They'd all have to have their own buildings, which would have to be handicapped accessible, and all the stuff you have to have now.
Holy crap, you're right.
Yeah.
839, 1017 FM. I guess we're doomed, huh?
We are.
839, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, traffic update. Ruben's here.
Near Jefferson Page Road. And we have another minor accident on Flournoy Lucas Road near Linwood Avenue. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Protecting data across modern decentralized networks presents challenges that traditional backup solutions can't handle.
We'll get back to that previous segment tomorrow because I need to think more about that. And I want you to also. And I got some stuff, I mean, that does. It ties into your free lunch thing. It ties into your TOPS stuff. Sure. I mean, how much are we as a, how much more of what you earn are you willing to give to pay for things, to help people? I mean, we need to help people. Okay, but how much until we pay the people who work for us more than we pay ourselves?
Yeah.
You know? But that's for tomorrow. 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Matt said a little while ago, run around, grab that other mic, amigo. We had talked last week, and I really taxed my brain over this when I had seen our buddy Paul in New Orleans, who is program director at a music station, a rock station, and he sort of did this list, his own little list of the 5 or 10 albums, whatever it was, that changed his life. And you had said the one that really, when you were like 18 or 19, you said "Eat a Peach" by the Allman Brothers.
Yep.
And you explained it, and it was pretty awesome. You quoted not only Tom Waits, but Bob Dylan and Frank Sinatra. So a lot of really an interesting list of things, to say the least. And I thought about that, and I thought, album was there, and there's just not. And I felt sort of
like a loser.
Yes.
Well, you are.
I felt like I had missed something, and I thought about this all weekend. And I thought, what album was there that I listened to? Now I have favorites, and I have favorites from a specific era and from my sort of early college years when I guess you're most influenced by. My favorite album of that era is either Tumbleweed Connection or Madman Across the Water by Elton John, one of those two. But it certainly didn't change my life.
Well, maybe Levon affected you in ways you don't realize.
My war wound, never mind. And then we talked earlier, and I started thinking even more this weekend about what was just the last album that I bought, either vinyl or cassette or even CD. And I thought about that. Now, I'm kind of a music guy, but I'm certainly not a music guy. And you said the last album of any format that you purchased was...
Jesus Christ Superstar was an album I bought.
What year was that?
Oh, it's been 10 years, probably.
97.
So after but into the 20th century.
Yeah.
And you said I would be amazed or really intrigued by yours.
You two knuckleheads will never guess.
Okay, well, tell us then.
I bought on vinyl Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington, The Great Summit, a couple of weeks back.
Okay, we're going to get way off track here because I'll come back to the last album I purchased. I'm in the car this weekend. This is way off track. But it has to do with kind of old guys that aren't me. And I heard a version of It Was a Very Good Year. When I was 17, the Frank Sinatra song.
You've been singing that all weekend, so now things make more sense.
I'll tell you, I'm sort of leaning toward, but I won't because it's borderline profane. I wrote a new lyric for that, by the way.
Oh, let's not do that.
I wrote a new
Ruben,
verse.
turn off the mics.
No, don't.
Don't ruin
but what
the
I was going to
song.
say was I heard a version of It Was a Very Good Year by Ray Charles and Willie Nelson, a duet.
That's an interesting combination.
And it was very close. It was probably, I think it was the album, the last one Ray Charles did before he passed away, where he's got nothing. I mean, it is the emotion of it makes up for his vocal limitations in the same way that the Johnny Cash, what was it, the Hurt? Was that the name of it?
Oh, yeah, the Nine Inch Nails cover?
Yes.
Yeah.
That he did right before he died. That it makes up for, in other words, this sounds horrible, and I don't mean it that way, that Ray at that point's hanging by a thread, and he sucked it up and went in and did this. I mean, imagine you do a duet with Willie Nelson, and Willie Nelson is the more powerful voice.
He's the vocal aficionado.
Yes. Willie Nelson sounds good. Now, here's the deal. You probably love that song, right? You probably think It Was a Very Good Year is a pretty awesome song.
It's a pretty decent song.
I hate that song.
Oh, my.
No. When I was 17, it was a very good year. When I was 21, then he does 35. But basically, you're talking about a guy about my age. And I apologize for my crassness at 8:46 in the morning, but it's the best way to sum it up. Basically, it's a guy looking back over his life saying, you had a pretty good life, and he judges his entire existence by how often he got laid.
Ooh.
That's the whole damn song.
Is it really?
Yes. Yes, he's carving notches. He's counting the notches on his bedpost.
I didn't realize that. I never thought of that.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights.
That's romantic. It doesn't mean he got laid.
Yes, it does. Yes, he's basically...
No, not to a woman.
He's basically
It
talking
was nice romantic evenings.
When I was 35, it was a very good year. Well, the 21 is the most obvious. And their hair came undone when I was 21. But, I mean, that's basically it. Here is a guy...
He's brushing their hair.
He is a guy who is so... Don't be silly. Here is a guy who is so infinitely shallow that he looks back at his entire life and he thinks, how many times did I score? That's why I don't like that song.
Maybe it was all the things that went along with scoring.
Here's the point I'm making. You are the woman that thought, who still thinks to this day, that Natural Woman is a song about women's liberation.
Oh, it's a sexy song.
You make me feel it's an ode to a
It's
guy.
a powerful woman song.
Yeah, about men who make them feel powerful. Freaking please.
You mess songs up so bad.
Because I listen to the lyrics.
You ruined the Eric Clapton one too.
Now, what's the Eric Clapton?
You look wonderful tonight.
Oh yeah, it's a drunk. Come on, it's a drunk text of a previous generation.
It's a nice, sweet gentleman saying, "Darling, you look wonderful tonight."
He's singing about being drunk and saying, "Put me to bed." He's saying, "Let's go to bed. I'm drunk. You look good." It's a drunk text.
No, it's not a drunk text.
What was I originally talking about?
I have no idea.
It had to do with, the last album I bought. The last piece of music I purchased was late 80s.
Gosh.
The jazz group Weather Report.
Oh, my.
An album called Heavy Weather. And if you're a jazz guy, you know, this is so long ago, Jaco Pastorius was still alive. He was a bass player.
Yeah.
Jaco was still alive. So probably 1987 or 88 was the last piece of music I actually purchased or stole from a radio station.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
No, you're just mad. You're gonna yell at me about when it was a very good year when we did that.
Oh, I am.
I'll do my new verse for you.
Oh,
you can decide whether I should
I'm
do
looking
it.
forward to.
849, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Ruben's here. It's traffic update time on Keel.
And we have another minor accident on Florno Lucas Road near Linwood Avenue. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROW.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Right now, 64 degrees, 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Can I tell them the cash code again? Your chance at $5,000. Keel Cash is back. The code you need to know is Easter. Easter. Log on to win. Your chance at KeelNews.com.
You're listening to American Ground Radio's Morning Minute.
Coming up on April 28th, there are 6 millages up for renewal for the city of Shreveport. They cover street improvements, recreational facilities, employee salaries, and police and fire budgets.
But the problem is these taxes are expired. They expired December 31st of 2017, and words have meaning. And yet, the city is spending tax dollars as if those taxes that will be voted on April 28th are guaranteed, and they're not.
You have to think there's got to be a better way to run the city.
American Ground Radio, where building a better America begins with building a better us. Return each weeknight from 6 to 7 p.m. with Louis R. Avalone and Stephen Parr on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL and streaming live at KEELnews.com.
Hey there, Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty once again for Stone Forks Restaurant. It seems not wrong, but it's not incorrect to say back and better than ever, because Stone Forks, you're saying, wait a second, they've been back open for a couple of three. No. Stone Forks is now under new management. Chris and the team, I think it is certainly not an exaggeration to say they've taken it up more than a notch.
Oh, absolutely. The steaks, you don't even need a knife to cut them. They are so tender, so delicious, cooked to order with all the side veggies you want. The asparagus, that's what we call them in my family.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't.
Oh, it's amazing.
Stone Forks, better than ever in the historic Highland District, right there on Kings Highway. Great food, great service, ambiance, and music.
And by the way, Moon Griffon will be at Stone Forks tomorrow doing his show live from 9 to 11. Come out and see Moon.
Let them make each and every special event memorable. Stone Forks. If you listen closely, you can hear bunnies across America bending at the knee and bowing in the direction of Erin McCarty.
The bunny queen.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Never thought I'd be called a bunny.
Maybe on Saturday nights. Okay, so here's the deal. At the end of the day, as the cliche goes, you and your
bunny minions,
Easter bunny helpers, delivered about 300
yes.
Easter baskets.
It was a busy week last week.
So we've got about 45 seconds. I know there's a million people you want to thank.
Yeah, I just got to thank every one of our listeners who helped. Lots of offices and businesses chipped in. We went by Providence House, Project Celebration, Rescue Mission, Hope Connections, Christian Services got a bunch of our stuff. Also, the Shriners Hospital, baskets for all the kids there. Just a great year. Thank you to everyone who helped.
When you started off, and I'm going to tee this up for you the last 10 seconds or so. When you started this off, how many Easter baskets were you hoping to do?
90 or so.
And you ended up doing how many?
300.
Good Lord. Nice job, and thanks. No kidding. 856, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Back tomorrow morning, 6 till 9. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Here's Kim Commando on KEEL.
Update. Like a badly conceived script, it all begins with a leaked memo and a Facebook vice president named, get this, Boz Bosworth. In 2016, Bosworth wrote a memo saying that if bad guys use Facebook to harm or even kill people, it doesn't matter as long as Facebook continues to grow. Bullies, gang members, or even terrorists organizing through Facebook, it's all good because in the name of connecting people, it helped Facebook grow. This has been Facebook's official policy all along. A 418-word document framed around Mark Zuckerberg's mission to connect the world through Facebook. Here, 2 years later, Mark Zuckerberg now says he disagrees with the memo. I bet he does, especially now. I'm Kim Commando. Here's why I'm a big fan of SimpliSafe Home Security. SimpliSafe systems are ready for anything that gets thrown at it. If a storm takes out your power, SimpliSafe is ready. If an intruder cuts your phone line, SimpliSafe is ready. Say an intruder destroys your keypad or siren, SimpliSafe will still call the authorities and get you the help that you need. This system has safeguards to protect you against power outages, downed Wi-Fi, cut landlines, bats, hammers, and everything in between. Now, SimpliSafe's triple safeguard protection could cost an arm and a leg, but it doesn't. Instead, they only charge you what's fair. So 24/7 professional security monitoring is just $14.99 a month. And with SimpliSafe, there are no contracts and no hidden fees. That's why I recommend SimpliSafe to everyone. Go right now to simplysafekim.com. That's simplysafekim.com to protect your home and family today. simplysafekim.com.
859, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Fox News just ahead right now. One more traffic update. Here's Ruben on Keel.
The intersection at Texas Avenue and Murphy Street's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road near Green Acres Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. A lot of clouds today with a high of 78 and partly cloudy, mild with a low of 66 tonight. Cloudy, breezy, and humid tomorrow with a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 79. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
It is 9 o'clock, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, Fox News.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.